Alright, this is gonna be a shorter video, but I wanted to talk about JJK because I just thought about this, right? And everyone says that Toji and all of his actions is what led up to majority of the events in JJK. And I have to go back and watch the series again because the last time I watched JJK was like 2023 or 2022. So I have to go back and rewatch that all the way up to the current point that we're at right now because I know season 3 just came out. And then I have to go look back at the manga again because the last time I read the manga was a while back when Gojo and Sukuna were fighting. But the reason I wanted to talk about it today was because I was just thinking about, wait, here, you have to get out of the way. I was just thinking about the fact that Yuki is pretty much at fault for why majority of the fucking stuff happened in the story. Because in order of events, like, yeah, Toji did, he killed Gojo, even though that just led to his enlightenment and kind of like twisted his mindset the way it did. And then him beating Geto, and then the fact that he killed the Star Plasma Vessel, all that stuff did, lead to a lot of events that happened in the show. But all of that shit would never have even been possible if Yuki just did her fucking job. Like, literally, all she had to do was just give her life up to allow Tengen to reset the immortality or whatever to keep the barriers strong, right? But instead, she refused to be the Star Plasma Vessel, which then allowed Toji the opportunity to go after the next Star Plasma Vessel, because if she would have just gave her life up, he would have never had the ability to go on this big old mission to hunt her down or anything. She would have already been there, and they would have already just made her the vessel, and just everybody moves on after that, right? But because she didn't, now they had to go get this whole new Star Plasma Vessel, and then that led to Toji being able to go after her. And then later on down the line, the fact that she never became the vessel, and then the new one got killed by Toji, ended up weakening the barriers for Tengen and made Tengen susceptible to, all the shit that Kenjaku did. And again, I have to go back and look at it to see exactly why that was gonna, mess everything up. But all of that could have been fucking avoided if she just did her job. And again, this isn't meant to be anything sexist, or it's not in an agenda, because I know a lot of JJK fans, they always have these fucking agendas to uplift their favorite character and then talk shit about another character. Like, trust me, I talk shit about Yuta. If there's anybody I have a agenda against, it's fucking Yuta. But I don't dislike Yuki or anything like that. And I don't even like Toji. I don't like Toji at all. Trust me, I've had a bunch of fucking arguments with Toji fans in the JJK fan base. Not on here, of course, but like, I'm in a lot of JJK spaces and they just annoy me because they're literally just like Naoya. It's like they just praise Toji like he's this fucking god, and then they talk the most shit about Maki and, oh, she's not as strong as Toji, even though they're supposed to be equals. But that's besides the point. Like I said, this is not meant to be sexist or anything. The only reason I'm saying that she's the main one at fault, or should be the main one at fault instead of Toji, is because even though he did play a hand in more events of why everything turned out the way it did, her event was first. Like, if she would have just did her job, all these events would never have even been possible. Because if she sacrificed her life, then Tengen's barriers would have still been strong, which means that Kenjaku would have never got his opportunity to do what he did. And then Toji would have never ended up killing the other girl. And that's another thing that I just thought about. She pretty much just fucking died for no reason. Because since Yuki didn't become the vessel, now this girl was supposed to be the vessel, but then she died for no fucking reason because she didn't even get to achieve that. So it's like, even though she did die, she didn't even get to die sacrificing her life for the exact thing that she was going to sacrifice her life for. She just died because Toji was able to go he was able to go fucking collect her bounty. So she just died for no fucking reason. Geto got fucked up for no reason. Gojo got fucked up for no reason until he came back and then killed Toji. So it's like everybody got fucked up because she decided to not do her job. And I wouldn't even have a problem with this, right? Because she did still have her whole goal of like trying to make everyone like Toji and Maki, where they get rid of like cursed energy from the world and stuff like that. And again, I thought that was a good plan, right? But again, it might just be something that I'm forgetting since I haven't watched the show in so long. But she literally just did not fucking tell anybody about her goals. She just left. And then you also had Geto even mention that she was just lazy and would never go on missions. But it's like, dude, at least if you didn't want to be the star plasma vessel, you could have at least told some other people. Like she could have told Geto, you know, because he went down his whole bad route and then turned out the way he did, and he probably would have aligned with her goal, you know, because his goal was to kill all non-sorcerers, because all non-sorcerers were kind of contributing to why there was more cursed spirits in the world, because of all the negative energy, which doesn't make sense in the first place because sorcerers are also fucking humans. So their negative emotions still contribute to making cursed spirits and stuff like that. So that was fucking stupid. But if she would have told him about her mission to go do that, like research the souls and kind of like try and get rid of cursed energy from the world, he probably would have ended up going along with her. But instead, she kind of got him more into his like depression. And then you also have Nanami, who hates Jujutsu sorcerers, so I'm sure he would have definitely went along with her plan had she told him, because you know they both would have kind of helped out the world in that way. Like that's Nanami's whole thing. He wanted to just help the world and make it a better place and stuff like that. And what better way to do that than go on a mission with Yuki to try and pretty much get rid of all cursed energy, so that now everybody is kind of like Toji and Maki, where even though they don't have cursed energy, they are all just like strong as fuck. So now the world just becomes full of like superhumans, and you also get rid of all the other stuff like the cursed spirits and stuff like that. So now you won't have to deal with that. So it's like it's better on every way you look at it. But instead, she didn't tell anybody about her goal. She was just fucking lazy and never went on missions. And then her refusing to be the star plasma vessel got a girl killed for no fucking reason. Geto got fucked up. And then Gojo got fucked up. And then, like I said, she also kind of pushed Geto more into his depression. So if that didn't happen, he probably would have never ended up fighting against, you know, Gojo and all the other people in Jujutsu High. And then Kenjaku would have never had the ability to even take over his body in the first place. So it's like she just did a bunch of fucking stuff that just, it kind of just makes you look back and it's like, bro, why are we blaming anybody else except for her? Like her actions, or I guess I should say non-action, since pretty much everything that I mentioned was her being absent from fucking doing what she's supposed to be doing, all contributed to the story way more than anybody else, more than Sukuna, Gojo, Kenjaku, you know, because even though Kenjaku was scheming for however long he's been around, like I said, going back to the other stuff, he would have never had all these opportunities if Tengen's barriers were still strong, because assuming that Yuki becomes the star plasma vessel, Tengen's barriers never would have been weakened. They would have been strong. He would have likely never had an opportunity to take over Geto's body in the first place had she not contributed to his depression. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much shit that she could have fucking did to avoid all this stuff. And I guess like that's the in-universe thing of like why I wouldn't like her. But at the end of the day, I don't really like hold it against her that much, because I feel like it's more of just Gege. He didn't really have the story fully mapped out yet. Like JJK Zero, I think somebody had mentioned that it was a lot more of like the first, ideas that he had, because even then you see Yuta's the main character in the movie, and he was supposed to be the original main character before he had Yuji be the main character. So that was kind of like all his first set of ideas before he finalized like everything else. So I'm pretty sure like if he completed the story, he would have had more fleshed out storylines, not only for her but for everybody else, because I feel like there was so much fucking potential left for damn near everybody. Like Nobara was out of the story, and then they just brought her back for no fucking reason. Inumaki, um, the other death paintings. Like there's so much more that could have been fleshed out a lot better, and the fact that there's so many Heian era characters in the manga that they could have probably showed a lot more flashbacks to all their eras and stuff like that. Like I don't really blame her that much, because a lot of the reason why she just does not do shit is because he couldn't insert her into certain parts of the story, because he kind of already finished these parts, like what we have in the manga. And then all the events like in JJK Zero was other stuff that he might have had in mind that he couldn't properly incorporate into the story without kind of like shoehorning them in. Because even with Yuta, like Yuta doesn't even come into the main plot line until like way fucking later, because a lot of what happened in the beginning portion, it just didn't make sense according to what happened in JJK Zero. So like I said, it's not too much of her fault. It's more of like a writing thing. But like in universe, if you just look at like the events that happen and why they happen, like yes, it would be her fault for the most part. But like I said, that still doesn't mean that I'm excusing Toji, because trust me, Toji is still very much at fault. But I would say like in order of it all, I would say Yuki is like 80%. No, I feel like that's too high. I would say she's like 65%. Toji is like 20. No. Let me lower. She's like 50% at fault. Toji is like 35% at fault. And then Kenjaku's like 15% at fault. Because you have to also remember Kenjaku was the one that gave Sukuna the idea to, like split himself into the fingers and the whole cursed object stuff so he could come back. So he also is the reason why Sukuna is even back. He wouldn't even fucking be here if it wasn't for Kenjaku, telling him all that. So, like I said, I feel like those three are the main ones at fault. Yuki, Toji, and Kenjaku in that order. Because, like I said, Toji's actions also gave Kenjaku the ability to do some of what he did. So, like I said, this was just a random thing that I was thinking about, but that was all.